When communicating, people need to feel important.
Yes.
And they need to feel safe.
Yes.
So, good question. How? How do you go about doing that?
Yeah.
And this is actually something, this is my personal summary of what Dale Carnegie talks about.
Okay.
In How to Win Friends and Influence People,
Good
which is
book.
basically a book about how to make people feel important and how to make people feel safe.
Yeah.
And the how-to version, I call it the golden trifecta,
Okay.
which is 3 things. Making people feel appreciated,
Mm-hmm.
so treating them with appreciation, treating them with courtesy, and treating them with respect. Okay, if you do those 3 things, people will feel important and people will feel safe. Okay, so appreciation. Always making sure that you, when you're communicating with someone, they understand how much that you appreciate what they're doing.
Yeah.
So, instead, let's say you're designing something, and the designer comes back with something that maybe isn't what you thought of. Okay, reacting without appreciation would be this totally doesn't work for me. It's not right. Do it again. Okay,
Which maybe you think this is the most concise, clear way to communicate what you're talking about, but isn't going to engender very much, help,
Right.
trust, anything
Exactly.
from that.
Exactly. So you may need to give the designer the feedback that this doesn't work. It needs to change. But the way in which you do that can either express appreciation or not.
Yeah.
So it's a very different thing to say, thanks so much. It's very apparent that you totally worked hard on this, and I appreciate that. Here are some things that I'm thinking, and I'm not sure if we're there yet, but here's a way that we can get there.
Or even saying, it's clear that you listened to me, A, B, C, D. I think that maybe I didn't communicate X. If you can ever find a way to bring it back to yourself, even if it's not quite your fault, it's like just let them have the benefit of the doubt so that they can fix it.
Right. Okay. So
far
it's just, you're expressing appreciation for what people are doing. And even if it's not right, far better to give the feedback that it's not right and express appreciation for what people have already done. Okay. Now, the second one is courtesy. And courtesy is mostly a matter of being polite, which comes far more easily to some people than it does to others, but is really, really important. Treating someone without courtesy is one of the easiest ways to earn their enmity. It's just, please and thank you, and all of those social things are really important because it makes people feel important.
And you have to mean it.
Yes.
That's the thing.
Right, and a lot of that has to do with delivery and tone, less than the actual words themselves.
Yeah.
And the best definition, I wish I could remember who said this, of courtesy was accepting small inconveniences on behalf of another person. So
That makes sense.
opening the door for someone is courteous. You didn't have to do that.
Makes all the difference in the
It
world.
was very nice. And it was a small inconvenience to you, but it made somebody else's life better. Operating with courtesy is very simple. There's nothing complicated about it, but it makes people feel important, and it makes people feel valued. So it's important. Now, the last one is respect. And respect is also a matter of tone over words, but it is not demeaning, not looking down upon, not treating another person poorly or as, less or not at all of a human being.
Right.
And, it's, think of, let's see, you go out to a restaurant with a business associate and they mistreat the waiter.
Right, it's like the kick the dog thing. It
Yeah.
is hugely...
Yeah, it sends a huge signal.
Yeah.
And just not treating someone as an individual human being worthy of respect is a really big deal. And, whether you do that to somebody else, which is a good way to, make them hate you, or you do that to somebody else, I'm sorry. No, you do that to another person.
Right.
Like, in the case of the waiter example, you're not disrespecting the person you're with, but you're disrespecting someone else in their presence.
Bad.
That sends a huge signal. And so, this nice little checklist, it's easy to remember. Appreciation, courtesy, and respect. If you do those 3 things, and basically, all Win Friends and How to Win Friends and Influence People is about doing these things.
Yeah. And I will tell you, even if you have really, really good social skills, the first time somebody gave me How to Win Friends and Influence People, I was working in a business where everyone who got hired got that book. I was like, dude, I totally know this stuff. I didn't read it for like 3 years.
Yeah.
When I finally read it, it's amazing how much of this stuff you really do have to remember in the moments where it's not natural, and that's when you need it. So read it anyways.
And that's a really good point. The moments where you feel least like doing this
are
the most
so
important to do it. And so if you make it a general policy that regardless of what is happening, regardless of what the circumstances are, treating people with appreciation, courtesy, and respect, you really can't go wrong. And that's the best way to make people feel important, and it's the best way to make people feel safe.